Dr. Shmuel Katz is one of the leading activists in the United States for Israel advocacy. He's one of the founders of the organization Stand With Us. He helps guide their powerful pro-Israel messaging. Dr. Katz is involved in Jewish and pro-Israel organizations all over the United States. His articles are published in various media outlets, including here on Israel National News, Arutz Sheva. So Dr. Katz, Israel has suffered several terrorist attacks in recent weeks, and the focus of the Israeli response has been to catch the perpetrators, kill them, or try to bring them to justice. The terrorists know that, yet they still continue to perpetrate attacks. In your opinion, what does Israel need to do besides hunting down the perpetrators in order to restore deterrence?
Thank you very much for the question. It's a very, very important question, and many people don't pay attention to the overall big picture. The answer has two components. One, the leadership which is sending the perpetrators to cause trouble. They feel safe, but they are the bad guys. They are brainwashing their own people. They're brainwashing the international community. They're sharing wrong information with everybody in order to boost their own egos, their own financial gain, and their own status within their own environments. They're building everything on lies and deception, and people have to understand it, expose it, and marginalize it. At the same time, the people who are running the in-the-field terror activities, unfortunately, they are brainwashed. They were getting the wrong information. They are being taught that whatever they do is holy and well accepted here on planet Earth and in the heavens. And it's all stories which were invented in order to bring them in order to boost the egos of their perpetrators. One of the biggest problems that we have is that people don't know the facts. They have no idea about the reality. They don't know what's really happening in the field. If the poor guy who is going to kill himself in order to kill another Jew or Gentile, because they don't know if the person that they're going to kill is a Jewish guy, is a Christian guy, is a Muslim guy, whoever it is. But they're doing it anyway. But they'll have to understand that they are being used as a tool by those who manipulate their actions. They have to understand that the real enemies of the Palestinian people and of the free people anywhere are those who are brainwashing them and using them and abusing them for the wrong purposes.
Well, they may come and say, I'm doing this for the sake of Allah. I'm doing this for the sake of conquering those who don't believe in Allah.
This is one of the bad elements of the messaging. The big problem is that the perpetrators of these vicious attacks are people who are dishonest. They have connection to terror organizations. They are being financed by the wrong people who have their own agendas. The little guy who is being targeted to execute all these crazy moves, they don't know better because they did not hear a different opinion. They did not get good input. They were not educated properly. They were educated about all kinds of dreams and imaginary things that are irrelevant. You speak to many wonderful Arab Muslims who know the facts, who realize what's going on across the globe with these people. When you have big fights between the Sunni and the Shia, or you have fights in Afghanistan, and you have fights even in Europe and the United States, they're not fighting for Allah per se to make the world a better place. They are brainwashed and they're trying to move forward some kind of an ideology which is undermining Islam. It's undermining the free world. It's undermining all the good people. And therefore it has to be exposed. What's happening if you have a poor student in any university across the globe and they hear a variety of messages which sound very good, they have to find out first who is the person who is promoting these messages. What are their motivations? Who is paying them? And are their ideologies similar to the ideologies that they believe in? Because they'll realize very fast that the people who are telling them to act in a certain way, They don't care about women, they don't care about men, they don't care about children. They'll abuse their own people in order to gain power, money, and domination over others. So they have to identify first who are the ones who are sending them. The second, they have to make sure that their ideology really matches with these people. If you want what's good for the women, what's good for the people in general, what's good for the children, these are not going to be your friends. And the third point, which is even more important, you have to understand that once evil is unleashed, nobody is going to be saved. When evil is going after people, they don't ask you, are you for me, are you against me? They're going to be destroyed no matter what, because any person who stands in the way is going to be a target. You can see it today in Ukraine, you can see it in Israel, you can see it in Pakistan, you can see it across the globe, wherever you look. When you have bad people who cause trouble, they don't ask you first, are you on the right, are you on the left, are you religious, are you Jewish, are you non-Jewish, are you Christian, are you Muslims? No. They cause trouble in order to gain power and to go for some ideology which is totally distorted, and it is promoted by self-serving bad operatives.
So you're saying that the people that are the organizers and that are promoting these terror attacks are manipulating younger people who don't understand, filling them with ideologies that make them fired up to go out to do these things. But in the end, it serves the interests of those who send them to make them richer and have them more power. So what does Israel have to do in order to return its deterrence power?
The answer is twofold. Number one, they have to pay special attention to the education of these people from the early ages. In the schools, in university, in workplaces. They have to understand what they're dealing with. They have to understand who are their real friends. They have to understand who are the enemies. They have to understand who is manipulating them. Just because somebody is paying you some money for killing or maiming other people doesn't mean that they like you. They don't care about your future. They let you rot in jail or go to the heavens, because unfortunately some of these people are killed while they're doing all these atrocities. They don't gain anything from that. Their families are losing precious members of their families. They have to understand that, especially when the messaging is manipulation of fantasy, not even reality. Why should you kill yourself? So that Hania should have a nicer house for his kids? Or that Arafat will have another couple of $1 million in his private accounts? Or that Abbas should have another couple of $1 million in his accounts? This is insanity. But people don't even know the facts, so they cannot relate to that wisely. And the people who are causing the trouble, the people who are in leadership position, they shouldn't be honored and welcomed. They should be exposed. People should know who they are. And once people understand that, other people may want to step into their positions. They cannot stay where they are. Good people should step in for the benefit of everybody. If the Palestinians thrive, they'll be wonderful. They'll be better off. They'll be with better interaction with the Israelis and with the international community. If they promote terror and mayhem, they are suffering and the neighbors are suffering. And who is the winner? The leadership who is totally corrupt, self-serving, in looking only after themselves. And therefore, we have to educate the people in the street, and we have to expose and marginalize the corrupt leadership who is sending them to do atrocities which are totally insane.
But to bring that message to the masses, how is that done through?
The way you can reach the masses is, today you have so many platforms. We have to have well-educated people who speak the language of the people in the street. You should address them in their own language. You should address them in Arabic. You should address them in the language they understand. And then you show them the facts. You expose the people one by one. If not everybody will understand it, at least some will. And if more people understand it, hopefully the masses will go with them and not with people who want to cause them harm. So education is the key. You have a variety of platforms, of educational systems. that private organizations are not big enough and not strong enough to be able to do that. Government has to do it, who has a lot of outreach and contact, and they can use also private organization and work together. Because if you stand for the truth, it's easy to move the messages. And Israel doesn't have to lie. Israel has to share the truth. The Arab Palestinians are lying all the time. They're telling stories which never existed. Like the Jews had nothing to do with Jerusalem. It's insanity. When you go to Temple Mount, what temple are you relating to? They were the first temple of King Solomon, then the second temple, and it's still carrying the name. So how can you say that the Jews have nothing to do with that place? It's just a propaganda machine. And the more you repeat the propaganda, more people are going to fall for that. And unfortunately, there are many people also beyond the Palestinian society, but others who want to do good in the world, they don't even understand that the good guys are the Israelis and the bad guys are the perpetrators of terror, which is baseless and useless because it won't benefit or promote welfare, not in the Arab street and not in Israel and not in any international platform across the globe, because terror will go to your own backyard, no matter where you are. So you better watch it and expose it, marginalize it, and then you'll have a hope for a better future.
Dr. Katz, I asked several people the same questions. How do we return Israeli deterrence to bring about the stop of the terror attacks? And others have said the Arabs understand one language. If you destroy the houses of those that perpetrate the attacks and the houses around them, their neighbors, if you expel them along with their families, then you will be able to stop the terror. What do you say about that other opinion, destroying houses and expelling?
Unfortunately, there are people with whom you cannot talk. There are some people that whatever you tell them, they'll think that they are right and you're wrong, and they'll kill you. Literally, they will kill you. The reason why you have to expose these people and to marginalize them is to avoid the problem with radicals with whom you have nothing to do and you cannot convince. You see, once you have a person who will do everything to destroy you, unfortunately you cannot talk to them. But there are so many others which you can reach. So the next generation who will come up to be, hopefully, will be based and built upon better people. Some of the bad guys, you have to put them in jail. You have to marginalize them. You have to remove them from society. You know, if you defund the police, you won't have less crime. You'll have more crime. This is an international issue. It's true in Israel, and it's true all over the world. If you have a bad operative who will not listen, who will not change his ways, you cannot let him loose, because you send him back to the street, he'll repeat the crimes. But the next generation or others who did not fall into this trap, hopefully they'll be listening and understand what they're dealing with. And there we have a hope, maybe tomorrow somebody will make a difference for the better. And in fact, if it's going to be implemented today, the results going to be seen 20, 30, 40 years down the road. It won't happen tomorrow, because it takes time to educate a generation. It takes time to marginalize the bad people. You cannot just go and destroy the entire society because this is inhumane. You cannot do that. You can pick up the bad apples and put them away, but everybody else has to be educated in the correct way, and then everybody will benefit, should they be Jews, Muslims, Christians, or anybody else.
Dr. Shmuel Katz, thank you for being with us.
It's a pleasure being with you.